Our first guest for the night. Once again, give it up, Keith Barry. Thank you, sir. Dude, again, that was bananas. Let's get you right here. And put your hands together for the director of Now You See Me Too, Jon M.
Yo.
How you guys doing tonight? You feeling good?
I feel great. He did all the work, so how do you feel?
I feel good, yeah. I'm ready
Nice.
for a beer after this, but no,
Nice.
I'm good.
I was supposed to be alone, and I was like, hell no, I'm not following Keith Barry after that, so.
You were in the front row. Was watching it from the audience any different than being on set with Keith while he's working with the actors? What is the experience like to just watch this man do what he does?
Yeah, imagine that all the time, on set, constantly in meetings, out of meetings, everyone always asking him to do stuff. It was literally like a birthday party at all times on set. It's the best. I recommend any directors out there to do a magic movie with magic consultants.
But here's
it's
a little
amazing.
secret. Jon Chu can do a little bit of reading people himself. He's quite good at it, too.
Don't try to set that
Look
up.
about how many days was the shoot for Now You See Me Too? Because you guys probably spent a good amount of time together. So you
Yeah, we
picked some
spent
stuff
way
up.
too much time together. We spent like, yeah.
It was 4 months.
Late
That's
nights,
the answer to the question.
over
4 months.
drinks, with like the whole setup with our writer Ed, with the whole like map of our movie, because our movie is a magic trick in itself. When you watch it, we're bringing you into a magic trick, and so it has a lot of architecture. It's very complicated, way over my head even. But we have a great writer and Keith that worked together to like figure how this thing would work. So it was a lot of late nights of doing that.
Yeah, Keith, you mentioned that you got to work with Ed Solomon, the writer of the film. He's written some incredible, like Bill and Ted,
Yeah.
Men in Black. Ed Solomon is amazing.
amazing.
Also
He's
wrote the
amazing.
first
Serious
Now You
guy.
See Me. He came back for this one.
Totally.
So you jumped into the writing process with Ed early, and then Jon, when you came on board, jumped in from there. But just one at a time, Keith, what was it like working with the writer, and what kind of conversations were you guys having about how you integrate magic into something like
It was
this?
fascinating for me to be able to, just sit with somebody and talk, and then see him convert that into the most amazing script and linguistics within just a couple of moments. And that was the fascinating part for me. Like, I was just throwing ideas for magic tricks. He would have placement cards and hold from maybe Dave Franco and Lizzie Kaplan, and he would just say to me, what do you think Lizzie would do here? Would Dave do there? And I throw loads of different ideas. And they go, okay, stop. What would a magician actually say in that scene? Like if he was doing the 3-card Monty, what type of things would he say? And I would just give him ideas. But then straight away, Ed would be able to type that into a legible script that could go directly into the movie. And then I suppose after that, he would pass it by Jon, and then Jon would give him his notes. But it was just amazing for me to work with such talented people. Not only Ed, but also Jon and Bobby Cohn, the producer. And yeah, I loved every minute of it,
Yeah, and speaking directorially, coming into a project where the script is already written and really wanting to put your stamp on that, these guys have done so much work already. Whenever you come on as a director and working with such a talented writer and with somebody like Keith, when you come on board, how do you make sure that your voice is still heard and being put through in the film?
Yeah, well, when I came on, there was an outline and 30 pages. So it was a...
Not all the work was already
Not
done.
all the work was already done. Let's be real. Come on. No. But they had done all the groundwork for sure. And then we all work it out at a certain point as we start to put it together. And then we shot backwards because we had, our cast is incredible. We have Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, Mark Ruffalo, Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson plays twins in our movie. So
It's like
double the
anyone
Woody
who's
Harrelson.
ever been in a movie is
Yeah,
this
anybody
movie.
who's
It's
a legend or an
crazy.
icon in the movie business is in this movie. And Dave Franco, of course, Lizzie Kaplan. We threw in Daniel Radcliffe. So it's a very crazy, insane cast. And of course, they have input as well. Each of them are superstars in their own right. So they all have notes and things. And so we all sit down. It's very much a group effort. I think that's what I love about filmmaking is everyone's contributing. In a movie, especially like this, where the first movie is really successful and your job isn't to like tear it down and start new. It's to give a different angle. And and it was kind of perfect because we understanding magicians and going into their world is really fascinating because you learn things like, every seat in the house is different. It's a different show when the magician's up here, whether you're in the front row or the back row. And so we took that same approach with the movie, that we got to change the perspective of our movie. Instead of being, the first movie, I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but it's the show is on stage mostly, and you don't get to hang out with the magicians. They don't give you the secrets and the magic tricks on the audience themselves. In this one, we get to go behind the scenes, behind the curtain with our cast, so we get to hang with them and be with them and see how a magician's mind works as they're trapped in a magic trick themselves and they have to get out.
And each of the four horsemen, the members of the magic group in the film, sort of have a different specialty. And what was really cool about this sequel is that they're pretty transparent in their private lives, that, Woody Harrelson is not as good at cardistry as Dave Franco. And Dave Franco really wants to learn the tricks that Woody Harrelson can do. For you, consulting, when someone is supposed to be sort of intentionally bad at a trick, do you even tell them to do anything at all? You're just like, good luck, throw a card as far as you can?
Well, the crazy thing is Woody Harrelson's actually pretty good at throwing cards. So to get him to be bad at throwing cards was the problem. Yeah. Like we used to have competitions on set, and I'm not a cardist. I mean, there's a whole genre of magic called cardistry now, and it's relatively new in our world. It's only about 10 years old. So we had an amazing cardist on set, two of them actually, Andre Jink and Blake Voigt, and they worked with the guys to teach them, get them up to a certain level. Now I can always also do it as well, but the weird thing is trying to teach somebody to be bad at something when they're already good at something is quite difficult. So Woody, I was on set that day when he was the piece that's in the trailer when he's throwing them badly. I was like, no, Woody, you need to hold the card wrong, you need to throw it wrong, and make sure it just flutters to the ground. So it's kind of fun when you're teaching somebody to do something wrong. And they had a little bet one night with Jon on set, and I think was it Woody throwing and Dave catching?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Jon bet that Woody couldn't throw 10 cards in a row and Dave catch them 10 cards in a row. And I'm talking about these guys were from the edge of the stage, not quite to the other side of the stage, but not far off it, so quite a distance apart from each other, and they did it. 10 cards in a row, Woody to Dave. And did you pay up?
I did pay them. I lost a lot. We had a credit system going, so I eventually lost a lot of money throughout the whole shoot. Don't bet Woody Harrelson, because Woody is a competitor. And by the way, you can watch. Actually, we had that. I don't remember but we had a VR camera filming this behind scenes. So if you go to our YouTube page, I believe they just posted it today, where they're like tossing it back and forth, and I'm there trying to mess them up, get in their heads, but
because every card is cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah,
cha-ching.
exactly. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And in fact, it was so distracting that our AD, who's supposed to keep this machine on the train, would get so mad at us for playing these games on the side. Like some of them, like Woody wasn't even working that day and just showed up on set and wanted to like toss cards around. And that's the kind of environment it was basically. And then you can see all these cards everywhere. This is the way our set was all the time. And so we'd be shooting, and halfway through like 3 takes, we'd be like, there's a card stuck in the wall. Who threw a card and put it stuck in the wall? So
someone in post meticulously rotoscoping out
absolutely.
cards.
I was like, we'll fix it later.
Continuity nightmare.
Yeah.
With all of that happening behind the scenes, and with that many personalities and amazing actors there, and everyone is friends from the first film, how do you keep everyone focused on what you're actually there to do? Because it seems like a 10-hour day could very quickly just turn into fun.
Yeah, it's. I feel like a kindergarten teacher sometimes. I'd be like, if you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. There's a lot of that.
There was never a 10-hour day. It was always 16 or 18 hours.
It was a lot of that, yeah. And try doing that to Morgan Freeman. He doesn't like it when you talk to him like a kindergartner. But no, it was we actually there was this. The magic actually was really helpful because it would keep them busy during in between. I'd be like, Keith, go play with them. And they had this one game called Fingers. I don't know if you guys have played Fingers. It's not even really a game. It's just kind of stupid, but they loved it so much. And everybody puts in like your fingers, and then there's a picker and there's a guesser. And the picker picks one finger amongst everybody's fingers, and the guesser, and you play with your friends tonight at the dinner table, the guesser then eliminates finger by finger and tries to pick the finger eventually. And every time they pick a finger to eliminate, they look to the chooser if that's okay, if they're eliminated or not. And so this game goes, literally the whole shoot.
Such a stupid game, but so addictive.
There's no trick.
We're all
It's
You
just-
don't realize it's dumb until you're explaining
Yes.
it in front of a bunch of people.
But Daniel Radcliffe,
No,
and no
hear
one,
me out.
and you have
No,
10
go home
people,
and try it.
and you have 10 people with 10 fingers. That's a lot. Well, that's 100. But Daniel Radcliffe, I think he got 3 in a row. Of those 100, he picked the one finger and got it 3 times in a row. So I think he was the champion.
Well, he's a
of
wizard.
The fingers game.
so
It's
it
true.
makes sense. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of Daniel Radcliffe, though, new addition to the cast,
Yes.
a really incredible character. Movie comes out tomorrow. Go check it out. I'm not going to give too much away now, but he has some really great scenes working with these like Hollywood titans. Was he ever coming to you for advice? I mean, obviously he's a veteran at the craft now, but being in stuff with Morgan Freeman and some other people that might be in, I don't want to give anything away. The great actors
Yes.
whom everyone knows.
Yes.
Were you a lifeline for Daniel, or did he just slip right into that?
I don't think I was a lifeline for anybody in this movie.
You were just there hanging out.
I was just there like, turn on the cameras, shoot this.
John, who directed this film?
Exactly. No, he was great. I mean, everyone's such different personalities. Coming into the movie, I was intimidated. A lot of them had already known each other from the first movie, and I done the Justin Bieber movie, so going to them saying, I'm going to direct you in a movie is intimidating. I had to fly around the world to each of their locations. Like Woody was shooting Hunger Games in Berlin, and then Mark was shooting Avengers in London, and Jesse was shooting Batman versus Superman in Atlanta, and I had to convince each one that I was right for the job. Good thing I'm a great bullshitter. So just like Keith here, Keith may be better actually than myself. And so I got the job, and then so I remember the first day we were supposed to do our rehearsal, and I mean I really don't know how to we had the whole group there, and it's like Michael Caine and Daniel Radcliffe and all these guys, and I'm supposed to either I didn't know if I was supposed to tell them what to do or let them do it and then give input. And then Mark Ruffalo just like runs into the room and he picks me up and he like starts jumping up and down, and the whole cast starts jumping up and down, and they're like, John, we got you. Just tell us what to do. We'll have your back. So that's the kind of like love and support that went into the movie. I think you feel that on the set. I expected 2 assholes. I got none, which is kind of amazing.
Which two?
Is it?
There's this magic consultant who tries to get in your head.
Blake Voy.
But no, it was actually an honor, and they trusted me, and you could not ask for a better cast to just say, John, we'll make mistakes, and we trust that you'll cut that out if we do that. There was no self-consciousness and all that, so it was a really good time. And each different pair that I would work with, whether it's Mark Ruffalo and Morgan Freeman, or Daniel Radcliffe and Lizzie Kaplan, or Dave Franco, the dynamics change. So in a way, much like a mentalist or a magician, I had to be good at psychology and understand like what the dynamics were in the room, depending on who was in the room and what we were shooting at the moment. So it was a really good exercise for all you directors out there of how you have to sort of adjust and understand each person's currency and what they want from this scene, what they're trying to do in this scene, and what you need for your movie. And so it was a lot of communication, I guess.
Was there any point while being on set where you looked at the entire ensemble and thought, there's no way all of these faces fit on a billboard together? Because there's the one on Sepulveda right down the street.
Yes.
And I was driving home the other day, like, wow, that's
I know.
impressive.
It's overwhelming to see all those faces. Actually, if you have like the Snapchat thing and you can do like face swapping on them, it's actually pretty fun because it
You
works
definitely
really well.
did that. That's
yes,
great.
Yes.
Lizzie Kaplan is another new addition to the cast. She just injected so much life and heart, and she's just so much fun to
Yes.
watch on screen. What is it like working with someone like that, who she's really making bold comedic choices, and the point of the scene is that everyone's like, great, new girl. How do you make it feel like it still has that life and vibrance on set when literally in the scene the jokes are supposed to fall? How do you keep her still confident that she's delivering on what she's supposed to be doing in the scene?
Yeah, she's one of the most fearless actors I've ever worked with. She didn't give a fuck. Like, she would try things. She was more crass and more dirty than anyone on our set. And that made Woody want to be the dirtiest on the set, which then made Jesse and Dave, it was like, we have so many ad libs that I could not put in this movie that it became overwhelming. But that energy of her to like just shake it all up and not play the damsel in distress, not play just the girl horseman, which when she came on the set, she's like, this is a friggin' sausage fest here, and she did not. So she every time she's in a scene, it's pretty amazing that she just owns it and brings it to life. So I was we were really lucky to have her. We actually wrote her character in with her in mind, not thinking that she would necessarily be available or even interested in the movie. So we were really lucky to have her.
Yeah, and she was an incredibly strong female character, and there's just she's a joy to watch.
Yes.
Keith, for you, was there anyone while you're roaming around on set and you have that downtime, did anyone become a target? Are you like, all right, Woody's going to be super fun, Dave seems like a good guy, but I'm going to make him break? Was there anybody there that was just
I think everybody was
fun?
a target, but for me, I worked on the first movie as well, and I mainly worked with Woody Harrelson on the first. But I didn't get to meet Morgan Freeman on the first movie. So my heart kind of broke a little bit by not meeting him on the first movie. I mean, with his character, there's nothing I really need to teach Morgan Freeman or talk to him about even. But with his second movie, we were on set right at the very end of the movie, and I sneaked up to John and said, I got to meet Morgan Freeman. This has to happen. It has to happen today. And to be fair to John, it was a big scene that he was shooting. So
it's like the most important scene in the movie.
Yeah,
we have to be very quiet. It's very emotional.
Yeah, and there wasn't too many people around. It was just a couple of cameramen, the producer, Bobby, John, and then the cast. So eventually, John came over and said, now, just get in there.
Well, I had asked Morgan, I was like, so do you believe in magic? And he's like, no magician can trick me. I was like, oh, really?
Yeah. And then his opening line to me, Morgan Freeman turned to me, like Woody introduced me after John had kind of shoved me up. And
I was like, get over here now. Go. Perform.
And Woody said, Keith's a mind reader, Morgan, and he's come up with a lot of different things in the movie. And Morgan said, oh, really? Read my mind now. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the biggest moment of my life, and I don't know what to do.
I'm taking iPhone photos the whole time.
Yeah, and I was like looking at John, and I was like, oh my God. So I took a few moments, and I did this specific routine. It takes a couple of minutes to do it. But I told him about a childhood friend that he hadn't thought about in 50 years called Boo Boo. And when I said, because I basically told him to think of somebody from his childhood or whatever. And so anyway, I eventually figured it out, and I told him it was Boo Boo. And when I figured out it was Boo Boo, he turned to me, and now that John was cursing earlier on, I know I can too. He just turned to me and says, unfucking believable. And I'm like, oh my God, Morgan Freeman just said that to me. I was like, oh my God, thank God, thank God.
God's mind.
And then he started, when he was doing his scene then, when John would cut the scene, he kept turning to me and go, Barry, he started calling me Barry, can you find dead people? You that kind of, I was like, no, I'm not like that. No. So that was the one moment. I got my target, figured it out, and I was, phew. So I've got that framed at home. Thanks to John for taking all the snapshots.
The amount of time that took in our shoot, we probably wasted a lot of money just for that moment.
I don't mind.
Totally worth it. John, your background, I mean, you did Step Up to the Streets, Step Up, 3D, Never Say Never.
Yes.
So you're coming from a lot of real heavy choreography stuff, sort of as it is, but there is a really easy comparison to sort of make between dance choreography and doing the intense, meticulous stuff that goes into magic and accurately showing that on camera. Was that an easy transition, or once that switch flipped, did it kind of just click?
Yeah, I love dance. I grew up around dance, and we actually, I had a YouTube dance battle against Miley Cyrus back in the day with the AC/DC versus Miley and Mandy. It was, so I sort of not got my start in there, but I definitely cut my teeth in YouTube during that time. Met a lot of dancers, and so I love movement. I think movement can communicate more than a page of dialogue ever could. When John Wayne walks out onto that porch, you know what kind of person he is. Or when Sid Charisse takes off her jacket, you know a lot about a person. So in very similar ways, magic has that thing, because you learn a lot about a magician by their persona and what they're doing. And And motion and perspective has so much to do with magic, and you can ruin a magic. And shooting magic is a whole nother deal, because usually magic is really supposed to be live. You want to know that, like, I saw it with my own eyes. There's no strings attached. His other hand was right in front of me, and that's part of the trick, that you're watching it and you're an eyewitness. With a movie, you can cheat so much, and so we have to shoot it in a way that you know that we're not cheating on our end, so that the trust is built there. It's a tricky thing, but and sometimes we have to push it here and there. But like for most of our movie, that's what we really try to do, which meant really training our actors to really do that. So that there's the idea of working with choreographers, but instead of choreographers, we swap that with magicians. There's also, when you're working with dancers, you sometimes can reverse engineer for what you learn they're really good at. So the magicians, Keith would tell me, oh, Dave can actually throw and catch really well. He can hit targets. So let's incorporate that in the scene. So then we would make the scene a little bit more about that, which we do also in dance, specifically street dance, because everyone's style is so different. And then in terms of the structure of the movie, the magic tricks are like a musical. Wherever a musical number would happen, when words aren't enough to communicate a character changing from one place to another, or a plot change from A to B, we did a magic trick to try to help tell story. So magic was sort of actually a perfect replacement for dance in the storytelling of this.
I have one last question for each of you. Keith, when contributing to this film, was there any time in that writing process where it's kind of layers upon layers, and you're pushing yourself as an artist, where you're like, there's this one trick that would work, but I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to keep it. Or were you just totally transparent? Let's throw it all out there.
No, I think for me, it wasn't about using pre-existing tricks. It was more to do with throwing ideas in that I knew would fit the plot and structure of the movie. So I didn't really hold anything back. I think I'm more saddened that one or two things didn't make it in that we did shoot, and that was literally down to time. I know Jon, I was talking to him after one of his initial edits, and he's like, Keith, this movie's over 3 hours long. I got to chop almost an hour off.
He got really angry at me.
No, I didn't, but maybe. So I think some of the things, the little nuggets that would have been in there for more of the magician world that didn't end up in there. So, for example, Dave Franco, he does a jumbo 3-card sequence, which I have to tip my hat to Jon. He shot it in one shot, so the crew are being fooled rather on set. And if you look at the movie, you can sense that if you were there in person, you would have been fooled as well, because he shot it in one shot, so to show that it wasn't a camera trick. But to prelude that, Dave Franco actually really did the 3-card trick. So I taught it to him without a hand insert. Like, he can really do it and fool you with it. So unfortunately, that didn't end up in the final cut. And then, I just mentioned it to Jon there, in that clip there, you see confetti falling down, and nobody really knows why. It's because we put an effect in called the snowstorm in China, where a guy was... I think
that sounds racist, but okay, keep going.
Not at all. It's a snowstorm in China. That's what it's called. So a guy's waving a fan. It's actually Mark Ruffalo is waving a fan, and a snowstorm appears. But once again, it's just a timing issue more than anything. I know that Jon really had to chop this movie down to make for time. So I didn't hold anything back. It's more to do with what didn't end up in it. So I hope maybe in the DVD they might have it in the extended scenes or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that leads right into my question for Jon. There's a sequence in the film when they're getting what becomes the MacGuffin of it. It's called The Stick. That doesn't give too much away.
Yep.
But there's this incredible scene where it's all of your major players kind of passing this thing back and forth.
Yes.
That sequence sticks out to me so much. It was so memorable. Is there anything that whenever you went into this project you couldn't wait to do, and then once you filmed it, you were like, oh, this is gonna be great?
That was definitely the scene when I was first pitched the movie. That was like the scene that I was like, that's gonna be unlike anything we've ever seen in cinema. Our guys have to steal this computer chip, which is happens to be the size of a playing card, and they know cardistry really well. So it's them stealing this chip in a small room. It's not a big room, and they're being searched by security, and we're following this chip card thing being palmed and being sort of not detected by the security guard. We follow the card through their jackets, into their pants, out, being kicked, and they're tossing to each other. It's like a giant dance with their cardistry. And that was, again, a group effort, because on paper it's one thing. Then I had to like sort of storyboard it and come up with how I think visually it could be. But then you're like, oh, but this has to be real magic, and we need to get our cast to learn this stuff. So then we turned to Keith and Blake and Andre and said, what are the real things that they could do to like palm it as our camera moves around so that we know the security guard isn't seeing it, but us, the audience at home, are seeing it. And so they shot a bunch of stuff on iPhones of like, you could do this, you could do that, you could have this, and they showed all these real techniques. And then I was like, great, I'm gonna cut that into my storyboard and cut that into my story, and we built it, this sort of like, this rough version of it. And then they taught the actors that, and then we found out, oh, the actors are really good at this or really good at that, or you know what, they can't toss it like that. So then we adjusted the shot again, and then we did a previs of this sort of final thing so that everyone, our cameramen, could be in sync with one another of what we were trying to do. And then we shot bit by bit, and it took about 2 weeks of like, and it's not 2 weeks of this action sequence where we're flying across a building. It's like, just shooting right here. And so, but in the movie, it feels like we're shooting across buildings because we're so close to things, and it's really a fun sequence, and I think people are gonna get very excited about that. So.
Guys, the movie comes out tomorrow. I can't say it enough. Now You See Me Too. Check it out. Put your hands together one more time. Keith Barry and Jon M. Thank you guys for being here. Much appreciated.